hopefully one that is helpful for you, and a reminder as well as possible confirmation. We'll see. But before we get started, I want to remind you that if you are interested in advertising on the show, please email me at emergingease@gmail.com. Pricing starts at $50. So we'll talk about how that goes. Also, if you miss a broadcast and you're like, dang it, I want to catch one or I want to re listen to something, please go to the Bachelor News.airtime.pro and you can listen to any episode, any of the shows. They have a schedule of being broadcast. So today we're going to talk about your testimony and how that can help you challenge and address anxiety as well as depression and keep moving forward in life. So come on in and let's talk. So one thing is over this past weekend, I was blessed with the opportunity to be able to speak at an event. And at this event, we it's called I Am Sister. Oh my goodness. That event, amazing, amazing. Um, if you're ever in Oklahoma City, and you're wondering something to go do, look up Brown Sugar Entertainment. They always have the best events. Of course, Grown and Sexy, but it's also this event that I was blessed to speak at was very empowering, awesome. It honored all kinds of African American women in various parts of life, entrepreneurs. It honored people who are battling and overcoming lupus, scholastics. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. And the hosts that they had, they were great. It was a husband and wife. They were awesome. I was blessed to talk about, to be given the opportunity to talk about mental health. And so I kind of want to continue on the same path that I was with this past Sunday at the event because it's so powerful and people don't realize that in the time that we're in, dealing with COVID, dealing with the changes that are going on in Russia, all of that, that we're going through a lot. We're going through a lot. And it doesn't necessarily help that with the things that we're going through, we've not got to have enough time to kind of bounce back or get into any type of routine since COVID 2020. Now we're in 2022, and now this on top of, trying to get some type of stability for self. And so the thing that I want to talk about first is to look at what we've gone through so far and look at what you've used that time in doing. Right when I started the show, I want to say in July, maybe it was in August when I spoke about this, though. The show started in July. I wanted people to realize the blessing that COVID has given to many people. Oftentimes, when people think about COVID, they think about, the either overcoming COVID, the long lasting effects of COVID, people that have passed away due to COVID, job loss, all the negative. But let's look at the other side of that because if there's negative, there's got to be some positive. So the positive is we were blessed with time, all of us in some sense, to be able to sit and start to look at ourselves, to start to evaluate the things that we wanted to improve. The one thing that I wish was put out there and it was talked about at the event that I attended this past weekend, and I found it like I was like, yes, because as it was getting closer to me speaking, I was like, dang, y'all taking all my info. Okay, but I mean, dang. So one thing is during the time of COVID in these past 2 years, African Americans have taken this opportunity to move forward. So many people have enrolled in school, gained training, started businesses, paid off debt. That part is never in the news reports. And that's the part that I love to talk to people about because, yes, there's some horribleness in what's happened, but also people took this time and used it appropriately. When we're allowed times of like this in life, we have to look at what are we going to do with that time? What can I do with this time that's positive and productive other than just, moaning and complaining? Okay. And looking at the negativity that's happening. Also, as we all probably are know, because the news actually talks about this piece, is so many people have changed careers. Those folks that were burnt out, tired, realized they were on a path that they were not passionate about and was not their gift. They were able to move into different industries. So that's a blessing in and of itself. So the topic today is looking at how your testimony can help you manage, challenge, address, and even push past anxiety and depression. So I went through all the COVID stuff to say this is another part of your testimony. Okay. So when I say testimony, I don't mean the part that you'll get up and tell in church because everybody gives that filtered uh version of their testimony in church. Usually, I've seen some TikToks that you're like, oh, wait a minute, they just telling everything. But when we look at what are what we've overcome, what we've been through in life, do we actually look at that as a tool? Because that's exactly what it is as a tool. Um, with that, when we see it as a tool, we can then figure out how to use it. With life, the experiences that we go through, the situations we face, and that we overcome, it's not just for us to get through it in that moment, but always look back and think, dang, what did I learn about myself? What did I learn about other people? What did I learn about even the environment I'm in? What did I learn from that? What can I take from that that will allow me to do better in the future? Because our thing is not to focus on perfection, because none of us can get to perfect. It's always going to be something. But what can I learn to become better? What can I do to improve? What can I do as I push forward in growth? What does growth mean to me? Okay. When we look back at our testimony and all the things that we've been through, regardless of your age, don't look at it like, well, oh, I'm only 20 something or I'm only 30 something. I'm only 50 something. Don't look at it like that as far as the time. Look at it as far as what can I get out of the experiences? And I don't just mean the good ones, the not so good ones too. Um the resilience that you've built up. What Because resilience is a big huge tool we'll talk about in a minute. What can I get out of this situation that's going to help me in my interactions with other people? What's going to push me to grow? Now, the thing is, when we're looking at being pushed to grow, before we even go into that topic, let's be honest. And I'm going to tell you this anyway, too, if you're seeking therapy. If you are not willing to put in the work, don't do it. Don't do it. When you're looking at your testimony, if you're not willing to put in the work to write it out, to look at it and be honest with yourself about what you can learn from it and what you can do better if you're ever in that situation again, don't do it. Because now you're wasting ink and paper and you could be on TikTok doing something that you're actually gonna get something from or pay attention to. I'll say that. You might not get anything from the TikToks you watch, but you'll pay attention to it. Just like with therapy. If you're saying, hey, you know what? I feel like I need to go to therapy, but you are not willing to do the work, the therapist cannot do it for you. Cannot. Because the thing is, if they're doing it for you, they're putting in all the footwork and you're just sitting there and then you come out with whatever you assume you're going to come out with. What do you have? You don't have anything. And now you're going back into life, nothing. This other person has taken on the task of trying to solve the riddles that you present them with. And now you're still in a stuck situation. And the reason I bring that up before we talk about the testimony is because without doing the work of it, you won't get anything from it. Just like think about if you don't go to whatever your job is, whatever your career is, you can't expect to have a direct deposit or a check in the mail. Just it's that's not how it works. You can't go apply somewhere and be like, all right, unemployed, I got hurt. I'm not even going in. And I need my payments on the 1st and the 15th. You will not be on the payroll. You will not be receiving that direct deposit or that check in the mail or benefits. Nothing. You won't get anything because you got to put the physical work in. And when I say physical work, there is when you challenge your testimony, when you look at your testimony, you're going to have emotional work going on, you're going to have mental work going on, you're going to have physical work going on, you're going to have spiritual work going on. And we'll talk about all of those aspects. So now, when I talk about looking at your testimony, basically look over your life from as early as you can remember up until now. Look at the good, the not so good, and the horrible, because we all have some horrible in there. What did you learn from that? What did you get from those experiences? I'm gonna give you a couple of examples too. Sorry, I've been talking today. I had to get something to drink. Um, I can give you a couple of examples too. And I'll say from my own testimony. So then you can see how I have even used those things and I still continue to use those things as I move forward in life. Um, First and foremost, when you're writing it out, get you a journal. I always show you this one. Choose happiness. Choose happiness. There it is. Choose happiness. And when I say write. Now, when you write your testimony out, it's not going to be an easy thing because there is some things that you'll start to recall while you're writing that will bring back emotional hurt, mental distress, physical pains, even. Write it down. Write it down. Um, and don't write it to where someone else might read it. So I need to water it down or make it look flowery. Write it for what it is. Okay. Because you need to just be flat out honest. Um, when you're writing it out, don't try to go back while you're writing and look back at things and meditate on them or pick them apart or look at them, turn them. Just keep writing all the way through. If you recall something like, let's say, you're on age 21, you recall something that's from age 16, don't skip over it. Just put a pause on the 21, insert right there, age 16 or however you break it down, this, and then go back to where you were with 21. With that, after you write it all out, take a break. Sit and take a break. Don't read it, don't think about it, just take a break. Because what you'll realize physically, your body is probably going, whew. You might, all them tension knots in your neck and your back may start to kind of release just a little bit. Your mind may become clearer. Your emotions may begin to kind of just calm a little bit. You may feel spiritually clearer, but don't stop there. Because sometimes people will write all this stuff like, "Woo, that feels wonderful," and then you stop, and so you get to a stagnant place. You're like 5 minutes. Well, dang it, what do I do now? What do I do about it now? After you've sat in that for a while and nothing else has come up, I would say give yourself a week from it. Just put it somewhere where no one else has access to it for one, and just step away from it for about a week. Come back to it. Start to read it. Now, as you get to major parts, as far as major goods, major not so goods, major horribles, pause and think. What did I gain from that experience? What did I learn about me? What did I learn about myself spiritually? What did I learn about myself mentally, emotionally, and physically? As well as what did I learn about how to interact with other people? Don't rush through to get through all your life story. It's gonna take you a while, honestly. The one that I've written my story in, I'm gonna see if I can find it. Yep, here it is. Ridiculously good ideas. As y'all see, I only get the ones that have positive sayings on them. And this one's thick. You see how thick that is. And yes, I've written through all of it. My life story, my testimony. Okay. My me is in here. And when I went back to reflect on the things that I've gone through and overcome, even the things that I felt were slowdowns, I started realizing that wasn't a slowdown at all. That was time for that information that I gained from that situation to kind of sink in so I can actually use it now. It was refreshing for one because I'm just going to be honest. I thought, like, dang, I'm not doing anything in life. I'm not succeeding and stuff. I see all these people doing all this big, huge stuff, and I don't feel like I'm doing anything. And the fact that I'm here, that's a big, huge success that I was not giving myself credit for. The fact that I had overcome many things that should have took me out, I wasn't giving myself credit for. What changed? Excuse me. What changed in the way I viewed myself, even the way I changed the way I spoke to myself, thinking. I changed the way that I saw other people. I was not as judgmental, not as hard or harsh toward them. And I realized this here, if I had looked at this earlier, some of these thoughts I had about what I don't have, where I'm not, oh my gosh, I should hurry up and I should be here and I should be there. And I'm not in either of these places. I'm losing right now. Like if I had looked back at this before, I would have realized I'm actually past the goals that I have set for myself. And that's what I hope for all of you listening that actually do this, to look at your testimony and to give yourself those pats on the back. You'll realize you have so many successes that you never acknowledged. And in acknowledging yourself for those successes, what you do with anxiety is you take away the fear, because I told you fear is the driver of anxiety. Also, fear is right there with depression too. Fear drives anxiety because you feel like there's absolutely no way to change where you're at. So fear comes in like, well, what if you're here tomorrow? What if you're here next week? Well, shoot, what about a year from now? What about 5 years from now? What you gonna do? You gotta do something. And fear gets you going like this. And that's kind of how I see anxiety. It's like this, kind of like a chaos. You're like, oh my gosh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I'm not this, I'm not that. But if you actually took the time to look at your testimony, your life, you're past that, way past that. Even depression. Depression feeds off of fear too. Well, I'm not good enough. I'm never, there's no hope for me. If I wasn't here, people's lives would be easier. That's fear. Because honestly, if you will go out and look at the things you've overcome, the people you've touched in your life, if it wasn't for you, where would those people be? Never think about that. If you actually left the fear alone and said, let me look at what is what is my impact on the world around me, even the ripples that you leave. And that's the thing we don't often talk about in many circles is our ripple effect. I give the example of the ripple effect once we come back from break. I want to thank you again for tuning in and listening to Emerging Ease with me, Keisha, on the Batchelor News Radio Network. I want to remind you to tune in for Featured Album Friday, every Friday. This Friday at 5:30 p.m., where the featured artist will be India Ari. And India is going to tell you about the same thing I'm telling you now, but it's neither here nor there. Also, tune in to all the love songs that are played on Whisper Softly every Sunday through Friday from 8 p.m. to midnight on the Batchelor News Radio Network. See you in a second.
Before Boost, our phone bill was obscene. So we switched to Boost and got lines for the whole family with unlimited gigs for a much more family-friendly price. It's nice to have a phone bill that doesn't require parental controls.
Your family deserves better. Get 4 lines for only $25 per line, each with unlimited gigs. Plus, get up to 4 free Samsung J7 perks with 6 months of Hulu, where you can stream all the shows everyone is talking about. All on the super reliable and super fast nationwide network. Boost makes it easy to switch. Switching makes it easy to save.
All right, welcome back. So, with your testimony, after you write it all out and you take a break from it for about a week and go back and identify the positives, the not so positive, and the horribles, and you look at those segments in life, think about how has that helped me in the way I interact with people? Because I was talking about the ripple effect before we went on break. The ripple effect is you have to be mindful that every interaction you have with someone, just like every interaction someone has with you, has a ripple effect. We can all think of a day or a time in our life where got cut off in traffic, they were horribly rude, this, that, and the other. And so you're kind of in a growl at the beginning of the day. So you take from that situation, well, I'm tired of people, rah. And so you start to your next interaction, let's say the first person come across at work and you're just growling at them. And then the next person coming across and you're growling at them. So those two people you growled at, guess what? Their next person they're probably gonna growl at. And it's a ripple effect until someone chooses to do something differently. So with that, let me give you some examples of how to use your testimony as a way to challenge anxiety, as a way to recognize really your not just your worth, but your value to other people and how you have such a direct impact on others as well as their outcomes, and how those moments in your life have allowed you to gain not just knowledge, but develop that knowledge into wisdom to then be able to bless other people as well as yourself. Because honestly, if you look back at your testimony, you have way more than you're giving yourself credit for. I promise you. So when I wrote mine out, one of the things in my past that was a horrible and a difficult time was my father was an alcoholic. And as a child, I was like, oh my gosh, in my childlike mind, which is why, and I'm gonna bring this in too, because we talked about this last week, 4 agreements. I made an agreement within myself to never use alcohol, never be around anyone that was using alcohol, because alcohol makes you horrible. I blame the alcohol. What I did when I wrote out my testimony, my life story, and I went back to that time, I also realized that in having a parent that was an alcoholic made me resilient because it made me more in tune to what things hurt me, and it made me more mindful about how I interact with other people. I felt as a child when my dad's doing this and it hurts me, and I've told him it's hurtful to me because I don't like to see him like that, and he continues to do it. So I also made the agreement I'm going to be very mindful if someone tells me they don't like something, or they um, they're hurt by something I've done. I'm going to be very mindful in the way I interact with people. Now, the way that, because that was when I was young. I'm not as young anymore. I'm not going to tell you my age. But even to this day, that agreement, that portion of the agreement, I've kept. Okay. I've kept that portion of how I interact with people because I'm a therapist. Also, I'm a person that's out in the world at large. I want to be very mindful that whatever my ripple effect is, that is received in a very positive way. So then when it ripples from that person, they can then have a different interaction with a person. Okay. Now, the agreement that I also made when I said, well, I'm not going to be around people that drink, I'm not going to drink myself. I'm just because drinking is horrible. I had to realize it was not the drinking, it was what that person was choosing to do and the trauma actually that they had in their life that horribleness was coming out. It was a way to get around fear. And we talked about fear a while ago. It was a way to get around fear to then allow what was in there to come out. And that's where a lot of people that have substance and alcohol concerns in their life are needing to look is what am I fearful about? What is it that I'm trying to avoid? So therefore I use these things or consume these things to cover it up. So that agreement I had to challenge because I knew also I wanted to help people. And if I only want to help people that fit in this little box, then how am I going to have an impact on anything? I had to take that box off and realize that it's not the thing, it's the choices. And when you help someone address their choices and what's behind their choices that's supporting maintaining those choices, then that was the key. So that helped me. It also helped me look at myself in a less judgmental way. Because when I feel like, dang, I'm not making the progress that I wanted to make, I should have done this, I should have done that. That's why I tell y'all, throw that word should out to the trash, throw it away, put it in a shredder, compost bin, anything, just let it go. When I took those shoulds off, I was able to see that even though my dad was an alcoholic, I did not fit into the statistics. Because statistically, I'm supposed to be an alcoholic, not one. Statistically, I'm supposed to have difficulty interacting with and trusting other people. Had it for a time until I wrote out my testimony and addressed it and chose not to allow fear to continue to guide the way I interacted with people. Because when you challenge that fear, you also realize the more self control you have with your interactions and how you choose to receive interactions from other people. And we talked about that a few weeks back. When I allowed myself to challenge that fear, I was also then able to get out of a stagnant place and move forward because that fear also keeps your progress from happening. You're sitting here nervous about everything, fearful of things, and looking at what you should, what I could have. And then you realize 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, I'm in the same exact place. I don't like this place. I've never liked this place, but I'm still here. That's because you've allowed fear to stagnate you. So in looking at your testimony, always, always, always give yourself the place to say, you know what? This is what I've experienced. This is what I've learned from that experience. Now, some things in your testimony, in your life story, you won't immediately realize, oh, this is what I got. Because it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while. But challenge yourself. What changed in me mentally? What agreements did I make mentally? Am I still living by those agreements? Especially when you have a traumatic childhood or have had a traumatic childhood. Some of those agreements are coming from when you were 9 and 10 and you're 50, still living by those agreements. And you're wondering, why am I still here? Why am I still in this place? Why am I in this place of frustration? Why am I feeling anxious? Why am I feeling depressed? Because I feel like I'm not moving forward. It's usually because you have not addressed and or even acknowledged the agreements that you made from before and how those have changed or need to change as time has passed. When you're looking at those agreements that you make, I'm gonna put it up here again. If you did not see it before, let me see if I got it on here right. Get this book. Take the glare out of it. The Four Agreements. Okay, it talks so much about this very thing in a different way. And looking at your life, and you're especially if you've dealt with trauma or even currently dealing with a traumatic situation, give yourself a pat on the back for the fact of you're still here. That's amazing in and of itself, especially someone that's gone through a lot of trauma, even, a traumatic event. You're still here. And there's a reason you're still here. Whatever that reason is, we don't know, but it's up to you to discover it. Okay. So, with that being said, when you realize I'm still here for a reason, that ding, value, you're valuable, you're needed, you're necessary, you're appropriate and important, not just to you, but to those around you, those that you impact. Ah, another ding, I'm having an impact on people. Even the folks that don't know you personally, people watch you. They do. And they will gain so much from you and you don't realize you're teaching. Give you a personal story before we kind of tie it all together. I was minding my business. So I'm gonna start off like that. Minding my business, going to the grocery store. This gentleman pulls in and cuts me off and pulls into the parking space that I had waited for. I had waited for the people to come out. I was sitting there, they were driving off, and he zips in there and cuts me off. And so I went to the next parking spot and he proceeds to get out of his vehicle and calls me everything but ma'am and claims I was trying to steal his spot. Said, no, it's not it. I was actually sitting there waiting for that spot. But no worries. If you want, you can have the spot I'm in now. Because your spot is actually better than the one I got. I don't even see why you're upset. I'm not upset. We both got what we wanted, a parking spot. And we're both doing what we wanted to do, go into the grocery store. So just move forward. This gentleman persisted, persisted, persisted. So I said, I'm gonna let you go ahead and go. You go ahead and get your cart, start your shopping. As I was making my way through the store, had no idea someone was watching. And they were like, you handled that really amazingly. Thank you for doing that because, I've had some difficult interactions with people this week and I was wondering what I needed to do. I just needed to see an example. And you gave me that example. So be mindful that people are watching, whether you know it or not. Also, be mindful of why would this person choose to interact with me like that? When I get back out to my car, I noticed his wife's head was wrapped in a scarf as if she had maybe come from chemo. I'm like, golly, this man is possibly getting ready to lose his wife. I can only imagine what that would feel like. So yeah, he's frustrated. Yeah, he's against everything. And I, not saying it was appropriate for him to do it, but I was the closest thing. So also being mindful to think outside of self. Everything's not about us. As the four agreements, putting it back up here, will tell you, it's not about you. Stop taking stuff personally. So in looking at your assignment, I'll encourage you to do your life history, look it over, talk about it. If you are going to therapy, take it with you to therapy. Take it. Because your therapist can help you unravel it, help you realize so much about yourself, help you move forward past depression, past anxiety, past low self esteem, past difficult interactions with other people. Let me tell you, it'll happen. All right, y'all. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today to Emerging Ease with me, Keisha, on the Batchelor News Radio Network. I want to remind you that if you missed any portion of the show or you want to go back and rewatch, you can go to the bachelornews.airtime.pro. I hope today's discussion will be helpful for you in not just today, but in your life's journey. See y'all next week.
Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you for taking such a time as this to participate in your personal improvement with Emerging Ease. I'm Keisha, your host. Remember that in everything, there's an opportunity to learn and grow. If you are experiencing a difficult time, please reach out to the National Crisis Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. And I look forward to hearing from you next week on Emerging Ease with Keisha.